Welcome everyone to this April Town Hall meeting, Catholic Prison Ministry Coalition. Today we are focusing on an organization called Our Children, H-O-U-R, Children. And it's a wonderful program that ministers to incarcerated women and their children. It was founded by Sisters Teresa Fitzgerald and Sister Elaine Roulette, who are Sisters of St. Joseph. And with us today, we have Pat Chambers Daly, who is the Senior Director of Development, and Christina Illenberg, who is the Executive Assistant to the Director and a former program participant. So welcome to both of you, and so happy to have you with us to talk about this really important subject, because so often women are treated as an afterthought, and this organization has women first and foremost as the focus of ministry. So I need somebody who's talking to put yourself on mute. And we're going to start with Pat and Christina are going to show us a video to begin our time today.
My name is Christina Illenberg. I'm the office coordinator. Often I've been told that I'm the first point of contact, which is important because when clients come to the main office, when community guests come to the main office, I'm the first person that they meet. When a family gathers at the table, love surrounds and embraces each member, providing a safe and welcoming space for them to grow and thrive. Our children's story is steeped in this love, for we provide that welcoming space for families to reunite and grow. So my connection with our children starts when I was justice system involved. I was incarcerated for a little under 25 years. And I'd always heard about Our Children. Our Children has such a wonderful presence in the facilities upstate. The love and dedication of our prison program staff is evident as they care for the women and babies in the nursery, provide workshops and counseling to assist the women in strengthening their parenting skills, and help the women stay meaningfully connected to their children during incarceration. And every time I sat in the visiting room, it was like, wow, I got to see the children run around and play in the beautiful designated areas that Our Children built up for the children, on the playgrounds. And so I've always known about Our Children, and then it wasn't till the last couple of years that I was inside that I actually started working for Our Children. I started teaching parenting classes, responsible parenting classes. Our Children's communal housing is, for many of the women who come to us, their first experience of home. A home filled with love and support, encouragement, and challenges. They form their own family. So when I lived in the Astoria house, it's, I didn't want for anything, I was so, before I came out, I had food insecurities. I was like, what am I gonna eat, It sounds silly, but it was a really big concern of mine, And so I moved into Astoria house, and there was such a community of family, togetherness. Sister Tisa always made sure that the refrigerators were full. She would shop on the weekends. I went with her a few times, she would fill those refrigerators up, We didn't want for anything. And then we would cook for one another, and it was just, it was very meaningful. And, Sister Tisa was always such a wonderful part. She just always had a word of encouragement, and she was just always so loving. And it was a really big part of that welcoming transition for me, and it meant a lot to me, yeah. Our food pantry and the Our Working Women program bring families and community together, building connections to a larger family and giving everyone a feeling of ownership of their future. So the Working Women program, it wasn't just about job readiness, job preparation, taking Zoom meetings, making connections, such networking opportunities there. But it was also, hey, listen, when 2 weeks before I got out, I was praying to the Lord saying, Lord, what am I gonna wear? What am I gonna eat? Like, I'm leaving with $150. I'm leaving with the clothes on my back, and I have one change of clothes, Where am I getting my clothes from? And let me tell you something. With the first 3 months of being connected with our children, I had a beautiful wardrobe, you know? The love embracing the children in our programs is our testament to the future. Providing childcare and after-school care and opportunities for our teens helps to ensure that our children have bright futures that can be free from involvement in the justice system. It is such a supportive environment, you know? Our children they've always, I've been out for a little under 2 years and they've just been so supportive and helpful to me, you know, so they care. They care. But also I have to do the work too. And I love that balance, you know, because it's important. Because if I come out here and our children had enabled me in some way to just kind of stay where I was at, that wouldn't have did any good for me. But they were there, they were supportive, but they were also consistently pushing me in the right direction, you know. So 2021 has been a challenging year for all of us here at Our Children. However, what has sustained us is the belief that love makes the difference and change takes time. We are grateful to all that make up the Our Children family. Our women, our children, our program participants, our staff, our volunteers, our board, our donors. Each of us plays an important role in this large and diverse family, supporting each other in our own unique ways. Together, we are changing and sustaining thousands of lives every year. We are grateful that you join us at the table. I would love to be a social worker. You know, I'm trying to work out the details of going back to school. I would love to publish my first book, you know, and I'm proud of myself for gaining and maintaining employment, you know, and I'm proud of myself for, you know, having the drive and, you know, continuing to take the steps that I need to pursue the things that I want to do, because I'm not done yet.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Christina, would you like to tell us a little more about yourself by introduction, and then you and Patricia can talk about your work? Because I thought that was a really inspiring video.
Sure. So I came home in 2020, which was very challenging because I came home at the height of COVID. As a matter of fact, tomorrow will make 3 years for me. I came home April 14th, 2020. And, you know, I had been in for a little under 25 years. And it was just, I didn't know what to expect. I was, you know, being removed from the outside world for so long. You know, I had an institutional mind frame that had to be deconstructed bit by bit as in my reintegration back into the community, in my transition, and it did, and it's still continuing. But Our Children was there right away from day one when I came home. You know, I had some volunteers from the community. They came, they picked me up, they brought me to the main offices, and right away I got to meet with the mental health director, and she calmly assured me that my needs would be taken care of. She gave me a brief overview about the programs that I would soon be taking, that I would be engaged in and a part of. She assured me that Our Children was going to help me in this journey one step at a time, and they absolutely did. That first day, I received Butterball checks for food, Metro cards for travel. The house manager came, picked me up, brought me to the transitional living quarters that I would spend my first 5 months at Our Children. It's called Astoria House. It's a beautiful house. And within the house, it was a really beautiful community of program participants who just immediately just reached out and embraced me and said, hey, look, we understand. We've been where you've been. The world may look like a scary place right now. A lot of things are coming at you, but guess what? It's one day at a time, one moment at a time, and we're here to help. I know in the video I shared about food insecurities. Yeah, I had food insecurities because inside they call child 3 times a day. And whether you have food in your locker because you're able to spend money at commissary, or you have friends and family who send you packages, it doesn't matter. Chow is called 3 times a day. You're guaranteed to be fed. So now I'm transitioning into the community and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this time tomorrow, where's my dinner coming from? I know that I've been told, don't worry, everything will be fine, but still there was that worry, And so when I went to Astoria House, the refrigerators were full. Sister Tisa always shopped. She kept the refrigerators stocked. There was community food, there was space for the women when they shopped to put their food. Plus there was community dinners. Right away, my housemates were reaching out to me and offering me food. So it was, just so supportive. They just really embraced me. And as far as workforce development, that was another concern of mine. Where am I going to get workforce training? Where am I going to apply for jobs? How am I even going to know how to do that? I had held positions within the facility, really wonderful positions where I was working in offices. I worked for our children. I'll talk a little bit about that as the town hall progresses. But so when I came to the workforce program, it was like, again, the community embraced me. At first we were doing Zooms because it was the pandemic. And so we didn't meet in person. So I was taking workshops online where I was learning interview skills. I was interacting with volunteers that taught me about writing resumes, writing cover letters, the importance of thank you letters. They were really opening my eyes to all these different aspects of the job hunt. I was taking workshops on computer classes. So I was transitioning from using the computers and the basics that you are allowed to use while you're incarcerated to the computers on the outside and everything that entailed, So it was really, really helpful. Clothes, like I didn't know, like, where was I getting my clothes? Because when I came home, like I said, I had a change of clothes, and there were so many donations at our Working Women program. Every time I went, when we finally started going to the actual building, every time I went through those doors and went up those stairs, there were racks right there of clothes, and we were invited to choose pieces, in preparation for going out and having interviews. So yeah. It was, I just benefited so much from our children. And really, I was in the program for a little under 3 years before I got a place of my own and moved out. But before that happened, I had heard that they needed an office coordinator. So I applied for the position online. I came in, I interviewed for the job, and I got the job as office coordinator. So I worked for our children out here.
I think for me, Christina is a perfect example of the women that we serve, and gives the whole breadth. So starting within the prison, the programs that we have for our women, most of it centers around parenting education, but we have so many women who, like Christina, are not moms, but take advantage of our programs because they talk about communications and they talk about networking. They talk about being able to build relationships outside of the prison with their families. So the women that we serve are very varied in terms of their family situations, but we do focus on moms and their children especially inside, because as we all know, the mother is the primary caretaker of a child, and especially at young ages. And so when the mother is taken away from that responsibility and ends up in prison, we want to make sure that that connection continues. And so we have a very strong visiting program. So children can come and visit their moms. We make sure that they get there. We have transportation for them. We invite the guardians to come with them, or they can come by themselves, depending on their age. And they can come and visit their moms at a minimum of once a month. And for those who are traveling, are outside of the 1 day kind of a trip to come visit, we have weekend trips. So long weekends, Martin Luther King, President's Weekend, July 4th, all of those different long weekends, we will plan where they can stay with a host family in the area, and the host family brings them into the prison to visit their moms for the day. And that to me is probably one of the most exciting pieces that we do, because it's just a way of making sure that they stay connected together and seeing each other, and the mother still feeling like she's the main caretaker of her child and being able to still mother their children. Our summer visiting program is amazing. They actually get to come and stay with a host family for as long as a week. And every day they get to go into visit with their mom from 8 a.m. in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is the best part of my story here, is that a mom gets to say to her child, "I'll see you tomorrow." And for a whole week. And it's just really mothers that I get to interview and talk to tell their stories, like a Christina. That is what they talk about, is how they can stay connected to their family because of the programs that we have in the prison. And like Christina said, when the women come out, it's really important that they have someplace to go, because if you know any of the statistics, the recidivism rate in New York is about 26%. And it's because when a woman comes out, she doesn't have anything. She's got one change of clothes, and she's got a Metro card, and if she's lucky, she's got $35 or $40 that she gets to go, and she ends up going back to some place that got her there in the first place. And so being able to go to a place like Our Children that has housing, childcare, mental health services, job opportunity and training, food security, all of those pieces brought together really help to create a platform of success for our women when they come out. Because the other thing we have in prison that I keep forgetting about it, but it's such an important part, in Bedford Hills, there is a nursery, and it's the only state nursery in New York State where the women get applied to be, if they're coming in pregnant, they get to apply to be a part of the nursery. They get to live in the nursery with their child between 12 and 18 months, which is a key to those first 12 to 18 months of being mother-child bonding is so important. We have staff that then is their child care provider. So when they go to work in the prison, where they go to classes in the prison, they take care of their the children. I was just talking to somebody who wants to volunteer to be a cuddler. So we have volunteers who come into the nursery and the child care center to hold the babies while their mom is away from them. So really, that's an important piece. And so that mom and baby, if she is leaving at the end of that 18 months, she can come and live with us at Our Children in our two, what we call our communal homes. And that's at my mother's house, which is in a convent here at St. Rita's Church in Long Island City, and Astoria House where Christina is also a convent. And so they get to live in community with their child and with other women with their children. I think because we were started by nuns who believe very much in community, I think that is a key to our success when they come out of prison, because they get to be with other women and children who are experiencing exactly the same thing they are. But at the same time, they have a house manager who is helping guide them. They have a social worker who is helping them walk through. They get to be a part of our Working Women program, which is our job training and skills programs. They have everything that they can to become successful. And we push them to make sure that they are successful. And we don't let them just sit around and just absorb everything. They have to be participatory and really make it successful for themselves.
That's great. Pat, I'm thinking before we go any further, I want to invite those of you who are joining us online today. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat feature and we'll address them as we continue throughout this town hall meeting. Pat, could you tell us a little bit about how you ended, your background? How did you end up in this work?
Oh, my goodness. So I've been doing development work, fundraising for 30 years. And 15 of those years were spent with the Sisters of St. Dominic in Amityville. And we have several Dominican sisters who worked for our children. As I worked through my career positions, I always seemed to be walking through the path of Sister Tisa Fitzgerald, who is our founder and our first executive director. And so when they were looking for a new development director, I couldn't say no. You don't say no to a sister. So when she invited me to come and join us, I couldn't help but say yes. And I've always believed in fundraising. It has to be about the mission. My heart has to be where I go. And it was very easy for my heart to fall in love with the mission of our children. Mm-hmm. Women and children and families have always been where I am drawn to.
I imagine a lot of people are interested in the kind of work you're doing and would love to replicate it in their own situations. But what would you say have been the obstacles, the difficulties that had to be overcome in order to get your program functioning and thriving?
I think there's a couple of things. One is, as much as our prison program is supported by New York State docs, that's what we have our contract for. There are nuances to the program that are not funded by docs. So finding that funding to continue, originally the visiting programs were not funded by the government at all. So that was 100% on us because we felt the importance of it. When we renewed our contract with docs, we showed them the importance of it and we were able to, they would pick up some of our programs. So the daily visits, but not so much the summer program visits. So we, little by little, we're pulling the government into seeing how important those pieces are. So that is one area that we need to always seem to be fundraising for. And then it's also about even the local programs. All of our other programs are located here in Queens. And so it's about gaining New York City funding for it in terms of contracts, but also the fact that most of our services here are, I shouldn't say most of. We've got Department of Mental Health Services for our mental health service programs. We've got some of our living situations, our housing situations are by OTDA and Department of Housing and something affairs. So we do have government contracts for that. But so many of our crucial programs, I don't know why, but the state or the city doesn't fund communal living. That to me is an essential part of who we are and how successful our women are. So that is a lot of fundraising to do. Our children's programs, because they are not licensed programs, are also, it's all private funding. So getting our programs to a place where we can look to be licensed programs and get more government support, I think is another challenge for us.
Good. And can you say, maybe Christina, can you explain a little bit about why you call your program Our Children, HOUR? It's an interesting name.
So the Our, the HOUR instead of OUR, the hour represents that first hour when the child is separated from the mom because she's been arrested. And then that hour where the very first visit that the child gets with their mother after incarceration, and then the hour where they reunite. It's so important. So that's where the H comes from. It's yeah, it has a lot of meaning.
Yeah. I'm wondering too, based on your experience, Christina, there are people who watch this webinar or this town hall meeting who come from other parts of the country that, unlike New York, maybe don't have any kind of resources. What would you recommend for them to perhaps maybe not be able to replicate Our Children, but at least begin a process of supporting incarcerated women and children?
So I think that community members could find ways to actually go into the prison as volunteers and find out what the needs are and build a relationship with the prison staff. And then, also try and work with community-based organizations in their area to ask, to kind of collaborate and say, hey, can we get some help? This is an idea that we have. We want to go into the prisons. We want to try and assist and help the inmates, reunite with their children, because we know that it's so crucial that when a mom is arrested and separated and the child is separated from the mother, it's like every moment counts. So I think that for areas in different parts of the country that don't have these programs, it starts in the community. It starts by people having a heart for this mission and then starting to ask some questions, how can we make this happen? Where are the correctional facilities? Where are our local correctional facilities? Maybe they could start in the jails, because the jails are not as restrictive as the state facilities. I know that is a fact here, so it's probably a lot like that in different parts of the country. But so yeah, small steps, not like huge ones, but just small to get it, because going up, working with correctional systems is quite challenging. So you have to start small. You can't bring huge ideas to the table, but if you can get your foot in there and get something established from there, it can grow and be bigger.
Now, maybe following that point a little bit more, I know from my experience working in the systems, once you establish, say, a visitation program, and then the warden changes, how do you maintain the momentum of the program as you also have to deal with a system that's constantly in change and flux?
I think the most important thing is building positive relationships and building a reputation within that correctional facility that lets the correctional facility see, statistically or over a course of time, a period of time, that, hey, since your program has come into our facility, we've seen a decrease in, let's say, potentially violent behavior, because the mothers are, they're able to benefit vastly from your program. You're offering a space within our facility where you're bringing moms together with their children. And we see that this is beneficial. So once you establish that reputation within a correctional setting, just because the administration changes, reputation and the work that you've begun in that facility, that's not going to change. And by building relationships with the people that are in corrections, not everybody's going to leave at the same time. Maybe you have a change in the highest levels of administration, but a lot of those officers, sergeants, lieutenants, they stay there for years. So if you've built a really good relationship and if you've built a program that's serving the women, but also serving the corrections community, because it's a community inside those facilities, and if you demonstrate that you're doing something very positive for that community, they don't want to lose you. They don't want to, because you're helping them in the long run in the whole rehabilitation process. So I think relationship building is very important to that piece.
Because we have our staff inside the prison, it's easy to build those relationships. So even not just with the superintendent, but with the deputies, so with the different layers, our staff is in the prisons on a daily basis. I think that would be probably the hardest piece for other organizations that don't have a contract, or they're not actually in the program. So, but building the relationships, I think, is the most important piece, because if we've had superintendents change in both Bedford Hills and Taconic, but the depths have always been, they don't change as much. And so we really have built those relationships, but we've also built the relationships with the Albany offices. So we've got, the reputation is layered, I think, in building those relationships.
I know one of the challenges dealing with returning citizens in a program such as yours is you have people working on the inside with the women while they're incarcerated. But at least here in California, if we're in the system working, we're not supposed to have contacts with people once they leave. They call it overfamiliarity, and it's a security issue. How do you bridge the work of those inside with those who are outside? And does the department allow any kind of crossover where people who are working inside can continue working with people when they get out?
Well, I think it's a matter of distance. So Long Island City is a good hour and a half away from the Bedford Hills. So our staff is separate. Our staff is up there, our staff is down here. And the only, once the woman comes down here, she's working with a totally different group of people. As Christina said, she met with our senior director of mental health services. We have, there's a director of our Working Women program. So there is definitely communication. So our prison staff talks to our staff about the women as they're coming down so that we can do a really good transition. But the conversations that happen between our staff up there and the women once they're down here is minimal. It's usually like when they come down for a staff meeting, if they see the women, it's like, how hi, how are you? I'm glad to see you're here. But it's not a discussion kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, one of the sad things about our mass incarceration experience in this country over the last, say, decade or two is the number of women who are incarcerated increased exponentially. And so we're dealing with an ocean of need. And I wonder, how do you determine who is able to participate in your program and who can't?
I know in my position, I don't get to deal with the application process as much as some of our other staff. I would love to some of our prison staff to come and talk to you in another session possibly. But what they do is the women apply to come here. Now the thing is, they may their family or the family that they're going to might be somewhere else, so they wouldn't want to apply to us. But those who want to come to Long Island City and be in the metropolitan area can apply to us. We have so far have been able to respond to every person. There hasn't been, well, certainly pre-COVID, we had a small waiting list. Post-COVID, we haven't had a waiting list so far. We've been able to accommodate everybody that has come down or applied to be part of the program. And at the same time, we've also now have a contract with for Rikers Island. So we've been adding some women for the local, but because they're more local, they come to our programs not necessarily to live, but to participate in the services. So I would say, from my mouth to God's ears, that when we do get those influx of women who want to be there, that we will find a way. We have never had to turn a woman away because we have 8 housing facilities for these women to come to, and so we have been able to make that happen.
Yeah. So, Christina, how many women, to your knowledge, are currently involved in the program? I have to take you off. There you go.
Well,
if you include the women in the program and in the prison,
I mean,
Yeah.
oh,
we're probably at almost 1,000, I would say, on an annual basis.
I mean, we serve a lot of people in
Yeah.
Bedford, between all the mothers and the participants in Bedford and Taconic, and then out here in the community, the communal houses that we have transitional housing, but we also have permanent housing. So definitely out here, definitely over 100 in when you take all of the living spaces and combine them. But as far as how many we're serving right now in the upstate prisons, I don't have those numbers on hand.
How about your staffing then? I mean, it seems like you must have to have a lot of people helping.
We've got 65 staff members at the moment, a mixture of part-time and full-time. And what we're really proud of is at least a third of our employees are former members, formerly incarcerated moms
Mhm.
or women. Yeah.
And I know you're tasked with trying to fund this and raise money for this. How do you approach it? Because oftentimes in our culture, women who are incarcerated have been shamed, even more than men. And oftentimes men or women prisoners are not always I don't know, people don't always feel like they want to give money to them. They want to give to more, quote, deserving people on the outside. So how do you get past that mentality and money?
Well, I think I'll tell you a story about a donor that or a gentleman that I was sitting next to at a conference. And when I told him what we did, the first thing he asked me was, well, what are they in for?
Yeah.
And I went, that doesn't matter, because the women who are coming out are not the women who had come in, and that these are women who want to be an integral part of their children's lives. They want to be an integral part of the community and society. And so it is our job to help them get there. And so it's my job to convince you to be able to open up your employment, to be able to open up your wallet, to be able to support these women who are coming to want to be. And so you need to, it's changing that mindset from they are what they went in for to they are people who have done their time, who have made sure that they want to be in a better place. They just need somebody to believe in them enough to want to give them that opportunity. I haven't come across too many people who've said, "Oh no, I can't support you because." Maybe I've always said that I'm lucky. I get to see the best of people when I'm in the philanthropy world. It's people who want to do something, and sometimes they're not always the best of people in their work world, maybe, but they're coming to, when I'm having a conversation with them, I get to see the best of them. So it's providing them that opportunity that these women are really wanting to be different, and it's having these people believe in them to make sure that happens. We get a lot of our funding also from foundations as opposed to individuals. So that's a little bit easier, quote unquote, sell, is because they already have that mission of wanting to help the population that we're serving. So that has been an easy part, and getting them to spread the word to major individuals. We're also doing a lot more with volunteer work with corporations, and so that we're doing our education through that piece. So yeah.
I'm wondering, in terms of like supportive services for the women, both inside and outside, around recovery. I imagine almost all the prisoners I know have issues around substance abuse. So how do you support them in their recovery?
We've actually, I wish I could have had Rubinette Chavez is our senior director of program services, and so she's head of the mental health services team. Her background is in substance abuse, and so she has really been helping us focus on providing. We have seen an increase in the need for substance abuse services since the pandemic and people coming out. So I think we're now looking at adding CASAC workers to our programs, and we are finding our partners in the community to be able to do one-on-one. Like I know of 2 women right now in one of our communal homes who do need that extra support, and so they're going into day treatment programs. So we have partnerships with those programs to make sure that happens. But yeah, we're seeing an increase in the substance abuse area, and we're definitely addressing it. And again, I have several foundation funders who this is an area that they want to fund, and so we're finding, thank goodness, that we have the funding to be able to add these critical staff people.
Yeah. you mentioned at the beginning about the recidivism rate in New York was around 25%, which is way better than California, so it's a lot higher. Do you track like long term how the women do and what the how you impact the lowering the recidivism rate among the women who are helped by your program?
Right now, I wouldn't say long-term, but we certainly can say on an annual basis, we track, who's in our program, who stayed in our program and where they're at. And for the last 4 years, I'm sorry, the last 4 years, our recidivism rate has been, actually, no, I'm longer than that, has been under 5%.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Christina, anything you wanted to add to that?
When I first came home, I had a substance abuse need. It was mandated by parole, and our children immediately gave me a referral to an organization right here in the community. So I was able to get that substance use counseling therapy that I needed, not only to fulfill the parole obligation, but also the groups were very therapeutic, very helpful to me. And in addition to that, my therapist that I had through our children was always there. I met with her weekly and then bi-weekly as I was in the community longer, and she always helped me with any of issues surrounding substance abuse, which, I have not used any substances in a very long time, but that's still, I know in therapy recovery, they've always, taught that, addiction is it's a lifelong thing. And so my therapist was right there, the therapist that I had through our children, and the therapy that I received through their referral to the outpatient program was very helpful when I first came out.
Great, thank you. I'm also wondering, do you get involved with women who have, for whatever reason, lost custody of their children or had to sign away their parental rights and are trying to reunite with children, even perhaps children who may have been adopted out?
I know that when I taught parenting classes upstate in the Taconic Correctional Facility, and our children partners with an organization called VOLS, Volunteers of Legal Services, and they are a presence in the facilities. They come about, I think, once a month and meet with the moms that request free legal assistance. They advocate for the mothers that are going through foster care related issues, adoption related issues. So, they do receive that help while they're inside. Yeah.
So have you seen cases where children have been able to reunite with their mothers under those circumstances?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
We also, our Rikers program works with similar agencies down here, and so we've actually have a parent advocate in the Rikers program where they will actually accompany the women in court so we make sure that they get to their court appearance, that they have an attorney that they're working with. We've also been blessed on many occasions with board members who have a legal background and who will take up a particularly hard case or be able to find that our clients somebody to help them get the services that they need.
Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the issue of traumatization? I know, almost all the women who have ended up in prison were traumatized long before they got there, and then are re-traumatized by the experience of prison and often losing their children, and then even coming out into the free world after prison is traumatizing. So how do you address that?
Christina, you want to try that one for a minute? I think
the social workers.
Yeah.
The social workers are right there to help with any mental health issues, any perhaps any crisis that program participants are going through, any stress that they are going through, situations with their children. They can speak with their social workers. So, I mean, our children we're right there to assist with mental health and, with therapy that the
every
participant may
woman
need.
every woman receives a therapist when she comes down to the organization, and when we are fully staffed, we're a little short staffed right now. If you know of any social workers who would like to work in Queens, please let us know. We each client has a social worker, and then every week those social workers meet as a team and do a debrief, and making sure that all of our clients are serviced the way they need to be. The other thing I love about our mental health services team is we don't let go of our women. So they may move through our communal home to transitional housing to permanent housing, but they always can avail themselves of our mental health services. So they may be doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden get a setback, and they can come back to us, and we can help them through that setback and get them back on their feet again. So that's the whole business of love makes the difference, and change takes time. Sister believed not only in second chances, but third chances and fourth chances. And I think that is part of that support system that our women really appreciate, is that they can take advantage of that.
Christina mentioned early on about food insecurity and housing insecurity. Those are things that the Our Children program address. How about employment? How do you help the women find work?
So we have a workforce development program. It's called the Our Working Women program. So participants go, and they go, and when I was part of that program, I got up, I dressed as if I'm going to an office that I worked at. I showed up, and and they instilled all of these values in me. Show up dressed for the position, show up knowing that, there's a good chance that we may send you somewhere on an interview, because, we're helping you get your resume out there, and we have, Our Children has connections within the community. So the Working Women program, just the whole day would be infused with workshops where you're interacting with volunteers. You're learning skills, you're learning how to get your resume together, your cover letter, you're learning the importance of a thank you letter. You're business minded. They really get you business minded. And now, we've had some really great trainings. We just had a training in phlebotomy. So the participants were learning about phlebotomy and medical assistant training. So and for me, when I came through the program, after being there for a couple of months, they placed me in an internship, and I interned right here at the main office. I was at the front desks. I was gaining office experience. I was answering phones, I was writing memos for Sister Tisa. I did all of this through the Working Women program. So they really prepare you. They get your mindset ready to work, they really give you that gentle nudge to keep moving forward, keep taking steps to move forward. So the Working Women program is a really great program.
Okay. So do you want to say a little bit about how people can find out more about your organization? I know you have a website, and people want to follow up on that. What would you recommend?
Sure. And I see Kara has posted our website in the chat. So it's hourchildren.org. And you can find all about us. That we've got job opportunities. We've got all about each of the different areas of our programs, whether it's children or our workforce development or mental health services. You can also call the office. Ask for me. It's 718-433-4724. And both Christina and I are here almost every day, I would say. And certainly you can give us a call. We're always welcome. I love the idea, Father, of replicating us, because I think we are a very unique program for women. And I think if anybody would like to talk to us about if we can help in any way, shape, or form, help to make this program replicate somewhere else, we'd be very willing to have those conversations.
I hope so. I think certainly helping women incarcerated coming out of prison is an area of such great need, and is underserved around the country. So thank you for your wonderful, inspiring work. appreciate you taking the time to share with us about what you're doing. And again, people can contact you. What was that phone number again?
718-433-4724.
Yeah, we'll make sure people get that. So thank you again, Pat and Christina, for your work. And thank you all for joining us today. Be sure to visit our Catholic Prison Ministries website. We have many webinars on file. You can, and many different topics. And so for anybody who's starting out in ministry or would like to, this is a great place to begin. And for those of us who have been doing this for a long time, it's always encouraging to be involved around people who are sharing the same passion for this work as well and learning what they're doing. So on behalf of Catholic Prison Ministry Coalition, wishing you all blessed Easter season. And until we see you again, God bless.